Hey, it's Emma Chamberlain. I designed these new glasses for Warby Parker, and I basically can't take them off. Like, I'm showering in them and sleeping in them. They're just that good. Go see them all at warbyparker.com. And you know what? Have a good day too. Okay? All right? Bye.
The number one selling product of its kind with over 20 years of research and innovation. Botox Cosmetic, onabotulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
I'm Tucker Zimmerman, and I'm an illusion.
And I'm Adrianne Lenker, and this is the LSQ podcast.
Hey, I'm Jenny LSQ. Thanks for pressing play on this episode of the LSQ podcast. I learned a new word during this interview that you're about to hear with Big Thief's Adrianne Lenker and the deeply underappreciated singer-songwriter Tucker Zimmerman. Numinous. It means having a strong religious or spiritual quality, indicating or suggesting the presence of a divinity. Numinous. It's how Tucker described the experience of recording the album Dance of Love with Big Thief as his backing band and as the album's producer. Released in October, Dance of Love is a collection of absolutely gorgeous folk tunes written and amassed by Tucker over many years. Its beauty derives not only from what's actually on the album, but also from the spirit behind it, of kindred creative souls finding each other across generations, across international miles, to make something gentle and singular and true. About 10 minutes into the interview, Adrianne tells the story of how she first heard Tucker's 1980 album Square Dance while she was getting a tattoo in Colorado. Adrianne was instantly mesmerized and introduced Tucker's music to her Big Thief bandmates. They were all baffled that they'd never heard of him before, baffled that he wasn't more well-known in general. Now 83 years old, Tucker began releasing albums back in 1969, and there are so many treasures to be discovered in his extensive catalog since then. In addition to discussing the collaboration and how it happened, they each share how they first connected with their own creativity as a child. I couldn't help but notice how profoundly their current artistic approach carries the long reverberation of their first naive awareness of their creative side. It was a joy to get these two back together, along with Tucker's wife, Marie Claire, who has a cameo at the beginning, for a conversation I feel honored to have witnessed. Let's get into it.
You're Jenny.
I'm Jenny, exactly.
I'm Tucker.
Nice to meet you.
Okay. This is Marie Claire.
Hi, Marie. Claire, how it's nice to meet you. Adrianne, I'm sure, will be joining us momentarily.
Right. There's Adrianne.
Hello.
Oh, my.
Where?
There you are.
Where is she?
She's over here. Look.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Hi.
how you doing, Annie?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good. As you can see, Marie Claire is here. She's going to go get me a cup of tea in a second.
She'd like one too.
I would love a cup of tea.
Okay, we'll see if we can do something about that.
When is the last time that you guys saw each other?
It was earlier this year in Antwerp
Yeah,
in the spring.
at the show that we played together.
Yeah. Oh, I really miss you. I miss you, Annie.
It's nice to see
Me
you.
too.
Oh, yeah.
I miss you guys.
Thanks so much for getting together with me to do this. I'm so excited to talk to you about this beautiful album, Dance of Love.
Yeah.
So, Adrianne, what did you and the band regard as being kind of your mission in making this album, in addition to having the opportunity to collaborate with an artist you love? Was there in there this idea that it would bring a new audience potentially of appreciation to Tucker's music?
Well, I think it was mostly just the chance to get to make something together because we all loved each other so much when we went on tour together and we played shows together. And then Tucker started jamming with Zach and Max. And sometimes I'd come up and sing a song. And it was just really fun. And I've always connected on a really deep level to Tucker's songs since the moment that I first heard them. And then when we met, it kind of felt like we'd known each other for a long time, like we were family or something. And I think it just was the idea of making something together, like recording something. It was an idea at first, and then we kept feeding that idea because it just felt like it would be a beautiful experience. And then sure enough, it was like when they came to record, when Tucker and Marie Claire came and Zach, and we all like gathered together. It really felt like time stopped and like we went into a portal. And it was just really good times. And it was everything we could have hoped for and more. And I think it was more so just the experience of doing it that we were looking for, like the experience of making music together and recording it beautifully that we all felt inspired about.
You know, every time I think about it, the days I spent at your place, us recording, I just feel a glow inside me. It comes back again. And that to me, it was how I felt pretty much the whole time I was there. It was just, I was glowing. Like, I was probably luminous in some way, glow in the dark type of thing. No, but you guys made me glow in the dark. I was, you really punched the right little switch. The light switch really went on. And no, it's not, it's more than a light switch. The whole thing was so, what Zach called it was numinous as an experience, you know. But I got to say, you know, the idea came from you the very first day we met, because we did our sound check in London. We just met. We went up after the gig, and the first thing you said, we're going to make an album with your songs. So it was right there from the very beginning.
Wow.
Do you remember that?
No.
We came up, you finished, Big Thief finished, well, we finished our sets. Then we came upstairs and we're sitting around and we had everybody together. And the very first thing you said, now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make an album of your songs. And I thought, my reaction was, that's great, because I'll give you all my songs. And I thought Big Thief was going to do these songs. But then you said, oh, no, you have to be there too. And that's where it started. I said, okay. And from that moment on, well, even before, when we first met, I trusted you all completely with what was going to go on. So when I came to record at your place, I had total confidence and total trust in what was going to happen. So I just tried to stay out of the way from that point on and let you guys take over and let you make the decisions.
Well, you have a sharper memory than me. And also, I think that trust is contagious because you were so trusting and open that I think we all felt so open. There was just so much trust from Tucker. It was really cool. And we all just wanted to like put our best foot forward and bring our best energy to the album and be like supportive of these songs, which we believed in so much.
What was the sort of average day like? What was, just if you can describe for me kind of how would you guys go about just sort of get up in the morning, and what was a day like in the studio or in the space where you recorded the quote unquote studio?
Well, I was at sort of like, the place where we were staying. We'd come over about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. And I'd go into the living room where were all the microphones, and somebody might be there, somebody might not be. It might be empty. I'd start playing and just pick out a song and start playing. And pretty soon people would join me. Or there might have been somebody there already, and we would end up doing a song. Who knows who made the selection? And then eventually Adrianne came in and sat down next to me and started singing. And pretty soon we were recording. We maybe did one or two of those a day. And in between was a lot of nice empty space with people were jumping in the lake, swimming, and people were doing other things. We had lunch together. We had dinner together in the evening. Noah and his brother cooked great food for us. We sat around the table in the evening. That was very important to me. I think it was very important to everybody that we had this communal meal, sometimes 12, 15 people at the table. And it was wonderful, this kind of, I felt part of a family. I've always felt you're part of my family from the moment we met, that I've rejoined part of a family that was somewhat distant to me, but has been brought very close now. And I still feel we're related in a very strong way. So these days were very free and open. We never did more than one or two songs a day, maybe three at the most, but more likely one song sometimes. And then things would just happen, we'd let things happen.
It was very organic. And yeah, people would just kind of gather around him, and it didn't feel like there was that much troubleshooting or like problem solving. Like it didn't feel like we talked about arrangements that much. We just sort of played, which is like the best. And the dinner table was a small table, and there'd be 13 people around it, like shoulder to shoulder, just like.
Yeah.
And my brother cooked all the food, and sometimes we'd be eating at like 11 at night, dinner. And I feel like too, the after dinner little hanging out till it was bedtime, maybe listening to some stuff we did in the day. And of course it was all analog. So everything was just on the tape machines, and we'd all be kind of responding to what we were recording in real time, like listening back and then like dancing or like grooving to it. And it was fun. It was really fun. It was like the alchemy of us all together and the focus and presence, because those two are two of the most present people I've ever been around. And it makes me feel more present and silly. And like, I loved drying dishes with Marie Claire, because she was like kind of addressing each dish that she was putting away in the cupboard as like she was tucking them into bed. And like, I think also Tucker and Marie Claire's energy together is like very playful, and like there's this really beautiful humor, but there's also like, I just feel like everything came into like a crystallized presence and focus that was really its own unique experience that I kind of feel like there's nothing like it.
So Adrianne, what tell me about the first time you heard Tucker's music, if you can set the scene for me of when you first heard his music and what it evoked in you.
I was getting tattooed in Colorado in a small town, visiting some friends who I had just met. I was on sort of a solo journey and gone through a breakup, and it was intense, actually. It was a really big time in my life. And I decided to go to New Mexico to sort of let it all go and work through some things and try to find parts of myself, I guess. Or I didn't know what I was looking for. I just wanted to I wanted some answers, even though I'm learning that you don't just get answers. But I wanted to figure some things out. And I went to this art gallery for a showing, and I met a lot of new people there. And one person I met had a bunch of tattoos. And I had only one tattoo at that time, and it was one that I'd gotten when I was 21, like a stick and poke. And I wanted another one. And so I was like, I really like your tattoos. Where'd you get them? And she's like, from all over, but I also tattoo. I'm an artist. And I was like, cool. And we got to talking, and I found out that this person had the same first and middle name as me, and that her partner had the same name as the partner that I had just split up with. And so there was all these synchronistic things. And she was like, yeah, come on out to where we are in Colorado. It's this really, really small town, just 3 hours north of Taos. So I went up just a few days later and ended up there for 4 or 5 days. And they took me to this hot spring, and they were living on this like kind of old shop that was on the main street of this tiny town. But they were turning it into their sort of art studio and living in it. And there were so many records there. Her partner was like a huge record head, kind of like collector. And when we finally got down to like tattooing, which is the tattoo that's on my arm.
Oh, here we go.
This tattoo. This is the one that I got there in Colorado. And that's the person gave me, who has my same first and middle name, Adrianne Elizabeth. And while she was tattooing me, they were playing Tucker's album, Square Dance. And I had not heard it, and I enjoyed it so much. And then after, of course, I was like, who is that? And I looked him up, found his stuff was online. And after I left there, as I was driving through the Southwest and through Utah and all over, I was listening to Square Dance. And then I had also found Foot Tap at that point, and I was listening to those two records basically just on repeat as I was driving around on my journey. Fell in love with it, showed the music to Buck and to James and my bandmates, and I think Matt Davidson too. And I just kind of like shared it, and everybody loved it and was like, wow, who's this guy? Like, how do we not know about this? Like, this stuff is as good as like Bob Dylan. Like, how are we missing this? And then we all got into your discography and listening to the very first records all the way through. And, you know, there's just so many good songs. And then eventually we were looking for bands to play shows with and tour with and open. And just the thought came up, I wonder what Tucker's doing, because I was listening to your stuff so much. And I saw a YouTube video of you, and I was like, I wonder if he's doing stuff right now, if he's playing live shows. So I just had my manager find the email, and we just sent a cold email out into outer space. It felt like, just like, anybody there? You know, I had no expectations of hearing back. And I think it was like months later, maybe, that I got an email back. And Tucker knows the other side of that story, but because apparently they missed the email, and then their son brought it to your attention, right?
Well, it was a bit more than that, because up until that point, when you first contacted me, I had been approached by many people in the 4 or 5 years before, promising me things like, let's do this together, let's do this together. They had a tour in Canada lined up to do an album. None of it came true. It was all jokes. In a way, it was lies. And I just got fed up with it. I said, no more of this. And so when I got your message, I said to my son, he took the message through his service, and he works at the university in the media in Liège. So he fielded all these things for me. And I said, no more. Say no. I'm not going to do any more. I didn't know who Big Thief was, and I wasn't interested in the least. And then you tried again. I think a few months later, maybe a couple of years later, it came through again. And this time, Kwana, my son, was paying attention, and he knew who you were, and he knew what you were about. And he told me, you pay attention to these people. You say yes. And I did, and I don't regret it at all. I'm so happy that I said yes.
I think the first time that I heard back from you, it seemed like you thought I was asking if we could just play together. Like, I was asking if you would do a set of your songs, like in the show. And I felt like you thought I was asking if we could just play with you or something like that.
I didn't know who you were. and the only reference I had to you, I could imagine a small room, maybe a couple of hundred people. But I also saw what I saw of you on YouTube were all very intimate things, like in a bookshop or a library or something, like where you were playing very, very quietly together. That's how I first saw you. I didn't know you were a big band. And so that's also partly why I got attracted, because I was watching you very up close, and Buck, especially Buck, the way he played guitar. I loved the way he played guitar and the way he danced with his guitar. And I think Buck was the first person that attracted me. I said, oh, I want to know this guy. I'd like to play music with him. And then it expanded to much more. But all I knew was these small settings. I didn't know that you're going to be playing for a lot of people. So I thought, okay, maybe they want me to join the band in the bookshop or something, you know.
I want to rewind a little bit, Tucker, and if you could tell me a little bit about early in your life as a little kid, you know, when you first remember feeling a spark of creativity.
Oh, boy. I really don't know. It seems like it's been there all along. I was a loner as a kid. I didn't have any friends. They seemed like silly to me, a lot of the friends that I had. And I had a great imagination, evidently. All I can remember is I would do things that seemed to be unusual, that most kids didn't do, but I can't remember exactly what these things were. But I remember as I was maybe 8 or 9, I started writing things down on paper and making up stories and goofy stuff. I wrote a philosophical tract when I was like 9 or 10. All I did was copy things out of my grandma's philosophy books. Take a phrase and put that in there, and then I get another phrase and add that to it. I just was like an accumulation of somebody else's words, and I call that my philosophy. It was my philosophical tract. I still have it.
Oh, wow.
I've kept it. But that was really the first creative thing I might have done, I think, which was borrowing things from everybody else. And isn't that what creativity is about in a way? We borrow. We borrow things. And then I instinctively did that as a kid, you know?
Yeah, it's about the things you choose, though. It's still a creative act just to be choosing lines from other philosophers and putting them together. You know, it's all filtered through you, and you're the channel for it. So how did that kind of turn into being drawn to music and wanting to play? I know you played various instruments, trombone and piano as a kid.
Well, I started with the violin when I was 4. So music was part of my life way before I thought about these other things. So I grew up with the violin. My grandfather was a violin maker, a fiddle maker in North Carolina. And he had made fiddles for everybody in the family. And I inherited my father's fiddle. And I learned to play that when I was 4 with a teacher. I had a teacher. And then we moved to the country. I moved to the ranch when I was 7, I think. No teachers, no violin teachers. So I had to give it up. And I took up piano and trombone at that point. And I played all the way through high school, trombone. And I still play somewhat piano.
And what inspired you to start writing your own songs?
Well, that was a much later, actually, when I was 25. I was finishing my master's in composition, theory of composition. I was working on my final composition. It was a cantata on the words of Thomas Wolfe, who was one of my favorite writers. And so I was writing a cantata. And it was a Christmas vacation of 65, 66, the last year of my master's work. And I had a friend who had a guitar, and he was breaking up with a girlfriend, and his girlfriend had given him this guitar. And he gave it to me and said, would you hide this? I don't want her to take it back. So I put it behind my piano. And during the Christmas break, 65, 66, to New Year, I had that week off from school, and I got curious about this guitar that was behind my piano. That's when it started. I'd never touched a guitar before. So I got it out and looked at it and thought, well, this is kind of nice. It's really nice, a nice instrument. It's beautiful. Spanish guitar with nylon strings, very beautiful to touch. And I liked it. And there was a little book in there to tell you where you put your fingers, And I knew theory. I knew musical theory. So it made all kinds of sense once I got the chords figured out where to go. And I quickly started making songs. That's sort of like, it was kind of a natural thing to come out of that. And I probably didn't sleep that week. I think I wrote 12 songs during that 1 week period, and then I just couldn't stop. And I haven't stopped since.
And Adrianne, for you, what's your first memory of feeling like a creative urge to do something?
I think maybe one of my earliest is I used to run around and I had this thing called It's a Story Right Now. I was probably like 7 or 6. I don't know. I remember being like really little and like full of energy and just like running around the house interviewing my family and interviewing anyone I saw. I had this, it's a story right now. I thought the concept that I could be like writing what's happening right now, everything accurately now, and now, and now, and now, and now, like it was like pure magic. Like, wait, I could write what's happening right now. So I was like, this is Adrianne with It's a Story Right Now. Right now, I'm in the kitchen with my mom, and like she's chopping green tomatoes, and we're gonna have fried green tomatoes, and she is nodding her head, and now she's laughing, and and I just remember thinking like, wow, this is so magical. I can document what's happening right now. Something about like now, and like just a spark of like, this is so cool. And I don't know. I think
That's
games
great.
like games like that where it just felt so fun and so magical.
Were you recording that on something, or you just sort of like kind of pretending you were doing kind of a broadcast?
I think I would write some stuff down, but it was a broadcast.
Nice.
And I also was obsessed with like breaking the fourth wall. Like I remember sitting there staring at the TV, like trying to mind beam, even if it was a pre-recorded thing. I remember being like, at any moment, this guy's going to look over at me and he's going to look at the screen and be like, I know this is just a recording and you're sitting there watching this right now. And I always felt like I was in a dream. And I used to ask my mom, like, Mom, is this a dream? Because we'd be like walking through a department store, through the mall or something. And I'm like, Mom, is this a dream? And, she would say, I don't know. So, like, I just always wanted everyone to just be like, hey, I see you. And guess what? Like, I know that this is a dream and, we're creating these things and like, we can play with this material. Like, I feel like I had a sense of that when I was a kid, and I always wanted the veil to come off. And I was kind of like obsessed with that, like removing the veil, like figuring out what's really in there. What really are we,
Wow. Yeah. I mean, your mom's answer is accurate, right? We don't know if it's a dream. Probably is. And how did that sort of turn into the urge to make music?
Maybe it was like a similar thing of just like figuring out that I could do this capsule that encapsulated something, almost like the magic of taking a photograph or something, where it's like once you've written it and once you can play it, it almost exists eternally or something. And also because I think I learned that I would find so much of what I was looking for in songs, even if I couldn't understand the songs yet. Later, they would give me these ideas, almost like singing the words well before I understood them. Like the songs were more intelligent, more wise, more outside of time than me. And I could then like sort of thread my way. I could learn about life through writing songs in a way. Like writing was a way of exploring and touching things, like almost like walking through the forest and just like feeling your way through and touching things and gathering information, touching the moss, feeling the coldness of the stones, like putting your hand in some water, like feeling the pointy little pine needles and gathering information of like the textures and the dimensions of reality via feeling and recording what you feel. And I felt like writing was always like that, more so like recording these observations and these textures and then pondering them later. And through time, they become, they help make sense of this place that we're in or something.
Oh, you were a wise child. You really were. I was a dummy. I was the dummy in the woods, but you were really wise. Oh, my.
I'm told often by my family that I was very, very serious and pensive, and almost to an uncomfortable degree. Like I would just stare out at people. I don't know. I'm sure you were a wise kid too in ways you don't know.
No, I was underwater. This is one of my stories of the crazy things I did. I saw this film when I was about 8 or 9. It was the frogmen, the Navy frogmen underwater. And I came home and it captured my imagination completely. And everywhere I went for the next week or two, I thought I was underwater, swimming underwater. And I went everywhere like this, underwater. And my aunt and my grandma said, stop it, stop it. I couldn't stop swimming underwater.
Wow.
So I was underwater the whole time.
Sounds kind of though similar, sort of a similar, I don't know, like questioning of reality as what Adrianne was describing. And I wonder, Tucker, like, does that sound relatable to you? The description of kind of the process of finding a song or the song finding you of what Adrianne was just describing. Does that resonate with you in your process as well?
Everything she said resonates with me. Everything she's ever said has always resonated with me. And that makes a lot of sense what she just said. I don't know about writing songs myself, how I feel about that, but I can't really talk about it very well. And I don't really want to talk about it too much. But yes, everything that Adrianne has said makes a lot of sense to me.
I've read, some quotes from both of you about like it's kind of uncanny the way that Tucker has said the songs write me, they tell me where to go. And Adrianne said that it's like following an invisible thread of intuition to find the songs. And so it makes sense that you guys would kind of bond on and be on this unspoken wavelength with each other about that kind of an intuition.
Well, I feel that, and I've written this into a song, I feel that Adrianne and I are connected by song lines. Do you know the Aborigine song lines from Australia? They live and they connect by song lines. And I'm using that as a metaphor in a way that you and I, Annie, are connected by song lines. We find each other through these songs and they connect. And I've written a song for you about this called Dreamtime, where we're back in the dreams again. And one of these, I think I'm going to perform it on this tour coming up, the song, if Zach will have it. But we're definitely connecting with songs and the lines that they create.
What would you say that you each have kind of learned from each other through this process?
Well, what I've learned is very, very simple, and it has most to do with performance. And Adrianne has taught me, don't be in such a hurry. Don't be in such a hurry. Don't worry about dead time, or what do you call it, quiet time. If there's a moment at the microphone when nothing's happening, it used to make me a little anxious, and I've learned to back off and take it easy with that. And also, not to rush the song. If the song wants a pause in it, put the pause in there and suspend time for a little bit. I've been doing that lately. So that is a very practical thing I've learned, and it's a very wonderful thing. And it frees me up as well.
Oh, that's cool. I feel like I've been learning so much from Tucker, but to not question the songs, like, how do I put this into words? It's okay not to understand all the meanings or like I've learned about not overanalyze, giving myself permission to not overanalyze at times, like trusting the songs, like just trusting what comes through, getting out of the way, as he said. Like, I feel like that's something that I have been observing a lot and feels like a really important thing to learn how to do, but it's not always clear how to do it, how to get out of the way of the songs and let it just be and trust it if it feels right. It came out. Because I think I can get into a headspace of being, is this right? Is this the right path? What does it mean? Does it make sense? And I have a part of me that really wants to break free of that and just like even more so as a writer. And there's these parts of me that want to come out and they're a little wily and squirrely and like nonsensical. And I think I've just been learning how to let those things be nurtured and just be in their wildness and not have to understand every little thing, not have to, like to honor the songs and let them just pour out and from your body of work and how you are as a person now. And just like the prolificness of how you write and how you have written over time and like the curiosity, even I'm just inspired by how you're always learning from people and like you're so observant. You'll say, we'll have just spent some time together and then, a couple of songs will pop out of it or something. Or I've just learned about being a writer in all the time, not just when you're trying to make a record or sitting down to write a song, but actually having an example of somebody doing that for real. And I don't know if you perceive yourself this way, but the way I perceive you is that you have more of a sense of, what can I learn from this? Like looking for like sort of the light in each person, in each place. Like there's always something to learn and to perceive and to observe. And it's like this way that allows you to have this flow of songs that come through and without judgment. I love just the sort of, I've asked you a few things about your lyrics. What does this line mean? Or what do you make of this? I'm trying to understand this. And I love sometimes your responses, oh, I don't know. It just came out that way. And, I'm not thinking too hard about it, but it feels, that's not an exact quote, but something of that energy of like, and I love that. I love that. Yeah.
Looking for a pickup truck to get just about anything done? Look no further. The Chevy Silverado EV isn't just the most powerful Silverado ever, with next-level towing capability and technology. It also offers game-changing versatility with the available multi-flex midgate and tailgate, which means Silverado EV helps you carry large, bulky, and oddly shaped items up to nearly 11 feet in length. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive. Visit Chevrolet.com to learn more.
We have one more act for you this evening. I don't even need to say his name. Mr. Bob Dylan.
From the director of Walk the Line and Ford vs. Ferrari.
If anyone is going to hold your attention on stage, you have to kind of be a freak.
And starring Timothée Chalamet as Bob Dylan.
Are you a freak?
Hope so.
Once upon a time, you're just so fine.
Inspired by the true story.
I want to know which side he's on.
This Christmas.
They just want me singing Blowing in the Wind for the rest of my life.
Bobby, what do you want to be?
Whatever it is they don't want me to be.
He defied everyone.
Turn it down!
Play it loud!
To change everything.
He's our Elvis.
With no direction.
Timothée Chalamet, Edward Norton, Elle Fanning, Monica Barbaro.
Make some noise, BD. Track some mud on the carpet.
A complete unknown. Only in theaters Christmas Day. Rated R. Under 17, not admitted without parent.
Well, there's powers around us that are greater than us. I don't want to get too mystical or certainly not religious, but we are involved in vibrations around us and energies that are greater than us. And they contribute a lot to what we do. And we have no verbal, words to put to them about this process. My feeling is that you're learning right now, and you'll get more at ease with this, Adrianne. You'll get more at ease with this letting things flow. I've always had, well, not always, but for a long time, just had the feeling that if you're working on a song, don't get in the way. Don't get in the way of the song. The song knows better than you what it wants to do and where it wants to go. You know this already, and you'll latch onto it. Another thing I'd like to say is that songwriting is like, it's why I gave up playing the trombone, because I wanted to write music and continued on into writing songs. You practice a trombone or an instrument, you practice it 3-4 hours a day. And I couldn't do that and write at the same time. So I feel that writing is also a form of practice. I do it every day. So in a sense, that's really maybe kind of cold, but I feel that I'm practicing every day. Willfully, I don't force myself to do it, but it happens that way. You continually do it. And if you write a couple of songs, and you know this, you don't have to keep them. I've written a bunch of stuff that I toss away pretty quickly, but you just do it. Just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Let it flow. Let it happen.
I try to remember that, but doing it in practice is a different thing. Like to actually step out of the way. I feel like learning how to do that. Sometimes I feel like I'm so in the way that I can't even remove myself, even if I want to. Like, like it's a heavy thing to pull myself, whatever that means, whatever. There's can be sometimes like a thick murkiness of whatever myself is in the way of like all that I truly want to access. Yeah. And it's just like When am I going to get there? Like, I know there's some, like I'm swimming toward something and it just endlessly.
You'll be okay. You'll be all right. I know that. I'm sure of that. You'll be fine. Just keep swimming. You'll reach the surface someday. I haven't reached the surface yet, but trying to find it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think that is a perfect place for us to kind of wrap up. I love what y'all have been saying. I'm so grateful for you getting together with me for this conversation.
Me too.
Thank you.
It's really wonderful to get to hear you guys share, and what a beautiful album you made together. So thank you for making it and for sharing that with
You're welcome.
the world.
You're welcome.
Thanks for facilitating this. And
Adrianne, it's so good to see you. When am I going to see you next? Do we know?
When you're in America, I'm going to come and visit you. I'll fly to you.
Great. And if we're recording, please come sit next to me at the microphone again, because I love that so much. I love that experience so much with you sitting by my side and our voices blending together. It was wonderful.
I would love to. Definitely. If you're going to be here in the States, I'll come find you at some point, someplace.
All right, that about does it for this episode of the LSQ podcast. Thanks again to Adrianne Lenker and Tucker Zimmerman for that amazing conversation. And Tucker is going to be touring early next year. He's got dates starting in February. You can find out more at tuckerzimmerman.com. And Adrianne's website is adriannelenker.com. You can reach me online on Instagram at JennyLSQ and find other episodes of the podcast at jennylsq.com and on the podcast platform of your choice. I'll talk to you next time.